Wormhole is a single-player instance that can grant players substantial rewards. For some, it is frustrating and annoying, while others don't know how to effectively do it. This video will help you understand what Wormhole is, why you should do it, and the best way to get the most rewards out of your wormholes. I will be explaining how you can make your runs go smoothly as possible so that you don't have to keep on retrying, and will help you maximize your damage regardless of how much money you have spent in the game, if any at all. I'll go over what a wormhole is for those who want to know what they are getting themselves into. If you already know what a wormhole is, then feel free to skip this part of the video and go on to the next chapter. So what is Wormhole? There are 4 wormholes at the time of making this video. Each wormhole consists of 8 floors and 4 levels of difficulty, those being easy, normal, challenge, and endless, with each level and floor getting more and more difficult than the previous one. To beat each floor, you must complete a specific objective. At floors 4 and 8, the objective is a boss that you must kill. The other 6 floors have elites and mobs. You must kill the elites and mobs to fill up a bar that goes up to 100% completion to move on to the next floor. Elites grant 25% completion, while smaller mobs grant anywhere between 1 to 4% completion towards this bar. Elites are generally the bigger and badder monsters. If you do not complete these objectives within the time limit, you will not fail, but your health will start ticking down rapidly. The only way to fail in a wormhole is by dying. If you die, you can either choose to start the floor over again, or completely give up and try the wormhole all over again. Each floor will carry over your previous floor's health, meaning your health does not reset with each floor. Additionally, healing will be reduced by 80%, but there are ways around this which I will talk about later in the video. There are going to be healing orbs that can occasionally drop from the smaller mobs that heal you, I'd guess, around 4 or 3% of your health. There will be these buffs called blessings. These buffs drop from elites or naturally spawn on the map and will significantly increase your damage. I will cover them more in depth as well as a trick you can do with them later in this video. Now that we know what a wormhole is, let's go over how to efficiently complete a wormhole. Let's go over the weak points and relics. Each wormhole will have a weak point, or weak points, that will help boost your damage or grant immunity to a specific damage type. Monsters will have resistance to that element that isn't a weak point. So for example, if the wormhole has the weak points of fire and vault, that means that all monsters, including the bosses, will take increased damage from fire and vault damage, but have higher resistance to ice and physical damage. This is not limited to weapons, as it also applies to relics. It is important that you use the correct elements to maximize your damage in the wormhole. If you do not have the corresponding weak point elements on your weapons, you can use relics that deal damage of a specific element type to help you kill your enemies. The most notable relics I recommend you use are Type B armor for fire. For physical, this will be the Colossus arms and the missile barrage. And for the Volt element, this will be Magnetic Storm. If you main ice like me, then you are out of luck when it comes to relics, and you will have to make do with what you have. I do want to add, while these relics are powerful, and they will help you with the weak points, you should be aware of their downsides. The most obvious downside is the downtime. They all have cooldowns, so just make sure that you use them at the most appropriate of times. The Type V armor and Colossus arms do massive damage, but it will be easier to take damage as you will be more vulnerable. The Magnetic Storm does a lot of damage, but isn't very consistent, and is much better at higher refinements. The Missile Barrage also hits a lot, and deals a lot of damage, but you need to stay close to the enemy, or they won't be hit by the missiles. Regarding weapons that I recommend, as previously mentioned, you should use weapons that bolster your damage with the corresponding weak points. Your team should have a balance. It is mandatory that you have a weapon with a high shatter value in the wormhole to help you break shields against the elites and especially against the bosses. The bosses are the most difficult part of the wormhole, so you want to make sure you can shatter their shields quickly, otherwise they will feel their maximum meter and do a dangerous attack. If you shatter a boss, they will be left vulnerable, allowing you to do a substantial amount of damage. Some bosses give you the ability to mount them and do a ton of damage. However, if you mount a boss, you want to make sure that you use the element that is boosted and strongest. The mounted attack itself will deal damage based on the element of the weapon you currently have equipped. King and Meryl are great for shattering bosses. If you have them, and I specifically mention them because these two characters are great for Wormhole. C1 Meryl grants you a shatter increase and a restoration effect for your HP. Restoration is not the same as healing, so this effect is not reduced by 80%, making this very powerful. King's Simulacra trait also follows this same logic, and the restoration effect from it won't be reduced. But remember to switch out of his trait for a damage trait like Subas's or Samir's before entering floors 4 and 8, as you cannot benefit from King's trait in those floors, since they are bosses. Sustaining your health pool is one of the biggest challenges in the Wormhole, since healing is reduced and your health carries over to the next level. When clearing the floors, prioritize your health bar over everything else. Having as much health as possible will lead you to more successful runs. While healing is reduced by 80%, I would still say that bringing a healing weapon isn't a bad idea, because getting as much HP as possible will go a long way in helping you kill the bosses. If you do decide to bring a healing weapon, be sure you can spam it as much as possible. You can use your healing weapon at the very start of the floor and cheese it at the very end of the floor before you get kicked out. If you do this every floor, then you will have a higher health pool when fighting bosses, which will allow the fight to be much more easier and much more forgiving. This is also very helpful in combination with relics that make you more vulnerable. You can use your HP as a buffer and a resource to offset the downsides that some relics have, and trade your health for a large amount of damage. Your last slot can be a damage dealer like Crow, Samir, Frigg, Subasa, or anyone else that has a large amount of damage that they can deal out while also having a decent charge value. Now that we have covered what preparations you can do before entering the Wormhole, we can go over how you can actually maximize your damage in the Wormhole itself. This section is very important to maximize both your damage and time. In the Wormhole, there will be these pyramid-shaped buffs called blessings. These blessings add stats to your character and carry over to the next floors. These are stats like crit, attack, and HP. Each blessing will also have an additional powerful effect at 4 stacks that is then further buffed at 8 stacks. Each floor will have several elites that each drop 1 blessing when slain. There will also be 2 blessings that spawn naturally on the map. Because of this, it is best to get the naturally dropped blessings and then kill the elites. Like I stated before, the completion bar to 100% will end the run, so if you kill a bunch of smaller mobs, you won't be able to kill as many of the elite mobs that drop these blessings. However, there is a way around this in which you should actually be killing the smaller mobs. It is important that you understand this, so go back and rewatch this part if you need to. Most people will gather the 2 natural blessings and kill 4 elite mobs for a total of 6 blessings per floor. However, this is not the optimal way to do your Wormhole. You can cheese the completion bar and get more blessings to drop from elites. When you enter the Wormhole, you should first scout out the map and look for 2 things. The first thing you are going to look for are naturally spawned blessings. You want to get 2 naturally spawned blessings. Now, while you look for your natural spawns, you will also want to keep track of the elites and their locations. More specifically, you want to find a couple of elites that are close together that can be grouped. So after you find your 2 naturally spawned blessings, you can go out and kill the elites. First, kill 3 elites that are not close together or can't be grouped. Then find the elites that you can group together and kill them. When you do this, the blessings will drop from all the elites in your immediate vicinity, regardless of the completion bar. Your run will end at 100% completion, but you will get an extra 1 to 2 blessings. The great thing about this strategy is that you don't have to kill the elites at the same time for the blessing to drop. Once the completion bar hits 100%, all the elites that are aggroed and are in your immediate vicinity will die and drop a blessing no matter their shield or health bar. So you only need to kill 1 elite around 70 to 90% of the completion bar for the other aggro elites to die. Now you have to be careful that you do not kill too many smaller mobs when you kill your first few elites, because most of the time you do this trick at the end, you will gather some of the smaller mobs as well. You don't want to be at 97% completion and attempt this, because you might accidentally kill the smaller mobs and finish the run without aggroing the other elites. I do still recommend that you kill some smaller mobs before you do this trick because they can drop regen orbs or provide extra heals when combined with King Simulacra trait. Just don't go overboard and go beyond 90% so that you can comfortably kill and aggro the elites to get your extra blessings. This trick is very important because it stacks up every floor. If each floor you're getting 1 to 2 extra blessings, you multiply that by 6 floors, and now you've got 6 to 12 buffs to help you kill the final boss, which is absolutely massive. That could be an extra 30% crit rate or a substantial amount of attack, alongside making it easier for you to reach 8 stacks of a powerful blessing. I do want to mention quickly a few warnings. Be careful that you do not slay the elites close to the edge of the map so that the blessings don't fall through and then you can't reach them. Also, always be aware of your time, especially for free-to-play players. Finding and killing the elites on the first few floors may be more time consuming than you realize since you don't have as many buffs yet. Now, not all blessings are equal, and you want to make sure that you get as much value out of your blessings as possible. It is important to keep in mind that some blessings are more powerful the earlier you get them, like Heart of Thorns. Other blessings may have downsides like overclocking program, which I do not recommend because HP is your biggest resource and ally in the wormhole. I would go over each and every blessing, but I don't want to make this video longer than it already is. So I recommend that you take the time to skim over the blessings and the game for the wormhole you are attempting. However, I will go over generally what I think the best blessings are and which ones you should pick up. The best blessings by far are the ones that grant crit rate and should always be your priority. Followed by that are the blessings that grant raw attack and specific elemental attack. Elemental attack is usually better, but it really does depend as some raw attack blessings have some very powerful effects. If you don't get an attack or crit rate blessing to choose from, then I would recommend blessings that grant additional sources of HP recovery, especially if you don't have a healing weapon or hate pepper for some reason. On par with this is utility type blessings. Things like stamina deconsumption or hyper body can be very useful. And lastly, the blessings that I will always try and avoid are the ones that give damage reduction, because offense is your best defense in the wormhole. Usually what I like to try and do is stack my blessings to 4 stacks before the first boss, and then work on getting my blessings to 8 stacks before the final boss. Why should you bother doing any of this though? The main reason to do Wormhole is the large amount of crystal dust that you can receive from it. The crystal dust can be used to purchase some powerful items in the commission area. After completing a Wormhole for the first time, you will get rewards for the first time completion. You will also earn points depending on how far you progressed in the Wormhole. Every 5 days, your points will be calculated and the crystal dust for that 5-day Wormhole would be sent to your mailbox. The more points you earn, the more crystal dust you get. When you complete Endless Mode, you will get additional dust for doing the Wormhole for the first time in that 5-day period, on top of the 5-day reset reward. So it's always good to do the Wormhole every 5 days. Leaderboards have no effect on reward outcome. Furthermore, at certain Wormhole intervals, you will get some free goodies in the hot shop. After you claim the free boxes, you have the option to spend some dark crystals for a box that gives additional rewards. This is a scam for free-to-play in my opinion, and just a psychological gacha game manipulation tactic. It is the typical no-brainer deal that happens to be 70% off and is also recommended. Of course you would want to get it, right? Oh, but what's this? After you buy one, you get the option of buying another one at a discounted price. Sooner or later, what was spending 450 dark crystals for some rewards turns into you spending 1,350 dark crystals, when you could have just saved those dark crystals for 9 summons or a resin refresh and walked away with your free rewards. But do what you want. I hope that you were able to learn a thing or two from this video, and if you did, consider subbing and liking to see more content like this. If you have any other questions, please leave them in the comment section below and I will try my best to answer them. Take care and have a beautiful day.